Okay. Hi, I'm David Penny from the Alliance of Independent Authors, and I'm here today with Pippa DaCosta and Susan K Quinn, and they're going to draw their daggers and discuss whether an author is better off in Kindle Unlimited or whether they should go wide. I'm going to hand over to the two ladies now, and I'm going to bow out and let them take battle. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, that's quite a setup.
Yeah, oh my goodness. Daggers at dawn.
Pippa, why don't you introduce yourself first, and then I'll pitch in.
Okay. So my name is Pippa DaCosta. I began self-publishing professionally, February 2014. So a couple of years into it now. I have about 15, 16 titles published. The majority are indie published, but I'm also published via Bloomsbury as well. I've got a Bloomsbury imprint that I'm published with. So I'm a couple of years into it, and I write sci-fi and fantasy, actually. I should get that in there quickly. So, yeah.
Sounds good. I'm Susan K Quinn, and I write science fiction, young adult, as well as future noir and a little bit of middle grade under the SKQ pen name. And then I have another pen name that writes paranormal romance. So I'm a full-time author since 2011, and love this gig, love doing indie publishing. And this is not going to be a cage fight. So anybody who's tuning in to see a cage fight, we are not going to be doing that, because I highly respect any author brave enough to publish, period, full stop. So however you decide to do it, whether it's in KU or wide, more power to you. We're all in this together. That being said, I will definitely argue my case like any good lawyer. So
oh my goodness.
Nothing personal at all at any of that. And I highly respect Pippa, and like I said, anyone who's even trying to do this thing, because it ain't easy.
Yeah, but, and I think it's really important as well to realize that there is no one size fits all. Everybody's indie journey is completely different. So it's very important. Sort of what I do will be different to what Susan does, will be different to, what every author does out there. So it is a difficult path to follow.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that we all have different reasons for doing what we're doing, which is part of what makes it very individual. I have a couple of books I've put out on indie publishing. One's called For Love or Money, and spoiler alert, they're both okay. So it's really okay to write just for love and not even care if you're selling books, or no one wants that to happen, of course, but embracing that possibility, I think, is actually really positive. I think if you can say, hey, you know what, I am in this because it's a soul-fulfilling kind of thing, and, the book sales really are secondary, that can free you in a lot of ways. And
that's how I got started, actually. Yeah. I didn't come into it thinking, I'm going to write these books and I'm going to make loads of money and this is how it's going to happen. I sort of fell into it. I've been writing for many, many years, since early in my teens, so sort of, 25 years I've been writing. And it was just a case of, I'm going to have a go. My kids are now old enough, they're at school. I've got a little bit of time. I'm just going to have a go and see what happens. And yeah, it came out of the love for writing, I think. And it was actually a case of, oh, actually, I can make some money at this. This is actually really good,
Right. Yeah. That's like fantastic and I think it's phenomenal that it's even possible for writers to make money, because prior to about 5 years ago, I mean, if you were making money as a writer, you were an anomaly. I mean, it was a star system and you were one of the lucky stars. But, that is just not even the case anymore. With indie publishing now, there are just so many people that are really, from everything from being able to pay a few bills to paying all the bills with their writing. And I think that's so fantastic. And that's actually one of the reasons why I started my pen name. The money for my pen name actually doesn't go to me. It goes to a special cause that I have. But it makes a full-time, much more than actually full-time income for that cause. And the reason why I started it, though, was I was just curious. I'm like, well, if I just totally went for it and said, I'm going to write what the market wants to read, how successful could I be with that? And the answer is very successful. So it's been, and then that sort of folded back around into, well, I have my SKQ books that I write just for love, and I'm going to write those whether the market likes them or not, just the way I want to write them, but how can I market them better to actually get them into the hands of more people that would enjoy them?
Exactly.
And, so it's been a real synergistic thing for me personally to kind of take it completely mercenary in one pen name and completely for love in the other, and see how both of those work. So yeah, I'm a huge advocate of doing what works for you, and really knowing who you are and why you're in this business, you know, before you decide what kind of market plan you want to have.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's important to realize, you know, what are you actually aiming for? Do you want to just do it to have some fun or to enjoy it, or do you actually want to make some money at this? And that really, you need that focus to understand, well, this is how I'm going to approach it. You need to be, if I'm going to make some money, then I need to look at marketing. And this is where we come into, am I going to stay with Kindle Unlimited, or am I going to go wide? And it really does depend on what approach you have. And I think it's important for new authors to sort of sit down and actually think, what do I want to get from this? And if they think, right, well, I'm going to look at it like a business, and then that's when they can think long term. And then we're looking at, like I say, Kindle Unlimited, Kindle Select. Do I go with iBooks? Do I publish with Kobo? Do I go with Draft to Digital? There's all sorts of things that come into effect there. So yeah, definitely.
All right, so I think we have some questions. I actually have a group called For Love or Money, which whether you're Kindle Unlimited or wide, I would recommend that you check it out. We have about 1,300 authors in there right now, and it's a really helpful, like helping each other kind of group with, you know, up to the minute information about what the market's doing and writing and all kinds of stuff. But so we pitched out to the group what questions they would want to have answered about KU versus wide. And we've got 5 here that Pippa has queued up for us. So why don't you start it off?
Yeah. Okay, so the first one is, we all get tons of advice on getting our books up on the Amazon ranks. Is marketing wide significantly different, and how? So basically looking at it from 2 points of view. How do you market when you're in Kindle Unlimited and Kindle Select, and how do you market wide? I think for me, there's 2 potentially main differences. And one of the reasons I initially went wide was to try perma-free, which is a book, obviously, that you make free permanently. And you can't do that if you're in Kindle Select. It's not something you can do. You can make it free for a short period of time. But if you're wanting to use a series starter and have that first book free and feed readers in to that series, then perma-free is a great way of doing that. And that's one of the reasons that I went wide initially, was to try out the perma-free. I don't know, have you?
I've done a lot of perma-frees. In fact, I was wide up until last year, so I've got a lot of experience with perma-free. And I kind of have a couple different thoughts about that. First of all, you can do Kindle Unlimited and perma-free with your first book if you have the first book perma-free, but the rest in the series, rest of the series in Kindle Unlimited. Now, people are like, wait a minute, if you do that, then you're like advertising your book on other platforms, but then people can't get the rest of the series because it's in Kindle Unlimited. And that is true, but there are ways to limit the impact of that. For example, when I was doing that, I don't do that anymore, but when I was doing that, I only put my other books on iBooks, or my perma-free on iBooks and Google Play, because the people who are on iBooks and Google Play are generally on tablets, and they can generally download the Kindle app. And so they're not isolated the way like a Kobo reader is. They have a tablet that they can, or a Kobo reader that they can use, and they can't, you know, download a Kindle app to that. So in a way, having that perma-free and Kindle Unlimited combo was a way to bring in readers and sort of convert them to Amazon. So that was the net effect. And then the people who were like, hey, you know, I'm on Google Play, but I don't want to do Amazon, you know, a lot of times I would just give them free books. I'm like, here you go. Like, I'm sorry, you know, you're disappointed, but, you know, here you go. So it worked out fine. So that's one thought I have about it. The other thought about perma-free, and I think perma-free has worked really great for a long time, but its power has slowly eroded. And part of what has eroded the power of perma-free this is before your time, Pippa, because you started in 2014.
Yeah.
But originally, Amazon had free books and paid books on the same list.
Yes, I don't remember that, but I've read about it.
Yeah, and so then they split them out, and so now the free books are kind of hidden behind the paid list.
That was the golden age of indie.
It was the golden age. And I'm like, no, what are you doing? So, so that was one thing that eroded it. The next thing that eroded it was the advent of Kindle Unlimited itself.
Definitely, I agree. Yeah.
It pulled away a lot of those freebie hunters. They just decided, hey, I'm a voracious reader. I'm just going to pay the $10 a month and get unlimited books for free. And so that eroded the power of the free, perma-free. But at the same time, you know, Amazon was giving you these 5 free days every 90 days in KU. And what I've done recently is converted over all my books to, instead of perma-free, it's perma 99 cents. So it's sort of like 99 cents is my intro price. And what I've found is combining a free run and then following that up with 99 cents and promoting the 99 cent part, like not even so much promoting the free run, although I do that too. What it does, it is a little tricky, but people actually borrow your book when it's free, which is kind of crazy. It's like, why do you do that? But you do that. And so that helps with your paid rankings. So when you come off the free run, you actually have higher paid rankings. And then if it's 99 cents, it goes even higher. And so that sort of is the funnel, an alternate funnel mechanism to having perma-free. And I've actually found it to be more effective. Like recently I took 2 different books off of perma-free and put it on this perma 99 cents in KU. And this only works in KU now. If you're not in KU, it's not going to work. So again, it's like different strategies, right, for being in KU versus being wide. When you're wide, your perma-free is absolutely your best strategy. When you're in KU, perma-free, you could do it, but it's actually not the best strategy. The best strategy is more like this perma 99 cents that will get you on that paid list again. So you're not
it's all about visibility. Yeah.
You don't lose that visibility on the free list. You're on the paid list. You've got, you know, good ranking because you're at a low price, and you're getting borrowers, which are spooling you up. And that's what I found to be the most effective funnel mechanism right now. But if you're determined to be wide, I think the perma-free is really critical. And there's some people, I think, when they're just starting out, they're like, no, I don't want to do perma-free because I'm giving away.
Yeah, when you first try it, you think, oh my goodness, I'm giving away all these books. I could be making money. That's not quite how it works. Yeah.
No, it's not how it works at all. And you make more money when you have a free book. So anyone who's actually done it will tell you that. So it's pretty. It works for pretty much everybody. You know, there's some things that you can say, well, it works for one genre, but not another. No, perma-free works for everyone, and it makes sense. You're giving people a sample of your best work, which hopefully is your best work. You know, a lot of people want to do like a perma-free novella, and that can kind of work, but it's like it's not the full meal. You know,
it's almost cheating a little bit. Yeah.
Kind of is, and readers will feel it. Readers feel like, oh, you just kind of gave me a little taste. You didn't give me the full thing. I don't even know if you can really tell a story because I haven't read a full story from you. You know, so you want your free works not to be some old tired thing that you pulled out of a drawer and threw out there. I mean, you want to get it a cover that looks great. You want to have it be everything that is the best sample of you, because it's your sell piece to your readers.
Definitely. Totally agree. And it's more difficult if you're going to do perma-free with a standalone as well. Yes, you can do it, but I think it's a lot more difficult. If you're doing perma-free with a series starter, you want that book to be very hooky. People will say, oh my God, cliffhangers, I hate cliffhangers. But you know what? They hate them, but they buy the next book.
Oh, absolutely.
So so we all complain. I complain about cliffhangers. I hate them, but I buy the next book. So it's perma-free works very, very well with a series starter, not so well with a standalone, and not so well with a novella. But I think, if we're talking about going wide, definitely for the best shot at going wide, it is really to get a perma-free and then to market that thing to the death.
And you're going to be marketing it forever, basically, because it is the until you have another series which has another starter book,
yeah.
and then you still market it. And getting ads for that perma-free, especially BookBub ads, and this is another thing that's actually changed a little bit in the last 6 months even. I've noticed with BookBub, they're taking less and less indies. And it's, it was hard to get in the first place, but now they have a lot of traditionally published books that they're using, and the indies that they have are only like New York Times bestselling indies. So if you're just like a normal author trying to get your book out there, BookBub used to be one of the best ways to get traction on like iBooks and even Google Play, because they had the direct links there. And that's sadly for everyone, that's not working so well anymore.
It is, and it still is the best way to get traction wide, unfortunately. It's I think with BookBub you have to make sure that you have all your boxes ticked. So you have to make sure that you've got a professional cover. You have to make sure that you've got the reviews. Basically, they will look at your back catalogue, and they'll look at, is it a series starter, is it a standalone? They'll look at everything, and you've got to make sure that you've got that package there to be in with a chance to actually get a BookBub. Yes, you can get BookBub on Kindle Unlimited and Kindle Select. You can do that, but it's a little bit easier to get it if you're being helpful and you're wide and you're on iBooks and you're on Kobo. BookBub certainly want to please their customers, so they are looking at ways of sort of saying, well, yeah, Kobo customers, Google, not so much Google Play perhaps, but iBooks for sure, Kobo, it does help. It definitely does help, and Barnes & Noble as well, of course. And BookBub still is, like I say, it's still one of the main ways of getting traction wide. But again, with perma-free, I think one of the things I did, I went perma-free almost straight away. I've been trying to get a BookBub for, gosh, something ridiculous. I think it was 13, 14 tries, and they just didn't touch me with a barge pole. And then, of course, got the perma-free, went wide, suddenly BookBub's best friend. So I think it's about, when we talk about sort of going wide, we're talking about opportunities, and trying to find as many opportunities for marketing as we can. And I think probably that's where Kindle Unlimited and Kindle Select probably fall down a little bit, is you are quite limited as to what you can actually do marketing wise to a degree.
See, I would disagree with that. Because the way I look at it in terms of marketing is not just what ads you can buy. And BookBub used to be very, very biased against KU authors, and they're not anymore. Like I said, I've gotten BookBubs for my KU books, no problem. It's right up until they stopped taking indies at all, basically, and the BookBub people are probably going to come shoot me now, but it's just a fact. I mean, if you look at what is actually in BookBubs, for the last 6 months with books that they actually select, they've really ratcheted it down now, and they're doing that at the same time that they're releasing the BookBub advertising model. I don't know. Are you in their thing?
Yes. Oh, I'm in their beta program. Yeah, I have tried it. Yeah.
Okay. So that's one thing that I think you actually could use to target wide as well. But it definitely works for KU books as well. So that's another avenue. But the thing that Kindle Unlimited does for you marketing wise is when you're wide, you've got, say you do 100 sales, and 50 of them are on Amazon, and you've got 10 on each of the other 5 retailers or 4 retailers, however you want to break that up. You've basically scattered your impact, across these different avenues. And you've got to do separate marketing efforts for each of them, like maybe get an iBooks rep that can give you some special placement on iBooks. But that 10 sales on iBooks is only helping iBooks. It's not helping Amazon. Whereas when you're in Kindle Unlimited, you've got your regular Kindle sales, but you've also got the borrows, and those work synergistically. They're helping each other, and all your sales are in one spot, so you're basically going higher in ranking because of it. Your visibility is higher simply because all your sales are in one spot. And I hear people say all the time, I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket. Well, having your eggs in one basket helps all your eggs help each other. So they're all like working together in the same direction, and focusing your effort as in terms of marketing, but also focusing the synergistic effect of all your sales.
I can see how that would work, definitely. I agree to an extent, but I also think that those 10 sales on iBooks will increase as well. You're at the same time, you're building a platform on iBooks and Barnes & Noble, and you're getting reviews, and it's a lot slower, don't get me wrong, and it is a lot, to be fair, it's a lot more hard work as well when you're spread wide, but you are really sort of nurturing a readership that's outside of Amazon. So, you know, it swings and roundabouts. Again, we're sort of saying there is no direct path, there is no one answer for all of this, but I think, you know, people, if we're coming to opportunities, I think going wide, it is a lot more difficult. It takes a lot more oomph to get visible wide, most definitely. And it takes a lot of time. Yeah, you're having to work harder, and it takes a lot of time. But at the same time, you're opening up opportunities, hopefully. There's no guarantees. Hopefully. Yeah.
The thing I find with the other retailers is there are opportunities, but they're usually, it's kind of what I call a winner-take-all system, where if you can get your books up there in the top 100 and have, you know, a well-selling product, if you've got great books, if you've got great covers, and you are moving books, then the iBooks reps will start to help you. The Barnes & Noble, I don't know about Barnes & Noble, they're so weird. iBooks seems a little more reliable. Kobo will start to help you. You know, so, but if you're a struggling down, like you're a lower selling author, you're maybe a little off genre, your books maybe don't have quite the obvious appeal that some other books might have, you're not going to reap the benefits of being in that top 100. And whereas on Amazon, it's easier to sell a lower amount of books and still continue on, because you don't have to get into the top 100 in order to have some visibility. On the other hand, I think there are also some benefits for being all in on KU, because I have a lot of people who are like, well, I'll put one book in Kindle Unlimited and see how it does. From the beginning, I've been very much an advocate of, no, you go all in. You don't toe dip. You don't just try things. You have to commit. And it's when you commit that the opportunities open up for you. And so, speaking of opportunities, one of my books under my pen name is currently was invited to be in the new
Reading Prime.
Amazon Prime, yes.
Yeah.
And that is completely because she is all in on KU. She's Amazon preferentially will support Kindle Unlimited authors with opportunities like that. And she's high selling. So like my Susan K. Quinn books, they're not in Amazon Prime. Same author, right? Same readers that love my books, you know, great reviews on both of them, but one is targeted to the market and she sells really well, and the one is for love, and so she doesn't quite hit those high selling numbers, and this one got invited to Prime. So
I have to disagree with you a little bit there, because I'm partially in Kindle Unlimited. I have my sci-fi series and my new urban fantasy in Kindle Unlimited, but I also have my original urban fantasy series wide. So I'm very much an advocate of spreading things out. And I also have been invited to Reading Prime. My urban fantasy, which is in Kindle Unlimited, is also in there as well. So,
but it's in Kindle Unlimited. That's why they.
Oh yes, of course.
They didn't invite your wide one. Okay.
But I'm also wide as well. So Amazon do.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sort of all in, like you are.
Gotcha. Okay.
I'm sort of. I have a toe in there, and I also have a toe over in Barnes & Noble and iBooks as well. And so yeah, there are. I agree with you to a degree, but also I think probably.
You can definitely split it out. I see people splitting it out more often when they have different genres. It's interesting that you're doing it with the same genre. And so, because you're basically saying to your readers, like your Kindle Unlimited readers can't get some of those other books in KU, and your non-KU or your non-Amazon readers can't get some of your books because they're in Kindle Unlimited. Do you find you have a lot of complaints about that, or no?
I do have people contacting me for my new urban fantasy series that's selling well at the moment, the one that's in the Reading Prime, basically saying, you know, how do I get this? I buy off of Barnes & Noble. But that's fine, just buy the paperback. That's absolutely fine, because the paperback's available everywhere. So I also, advocate for paperback. Everybody should be doing that. So yeah, there is a way around it. Yeah. And also I've had people email and say, oh, I don't really want to buy, but you know, I'll have to, I can buy in Amazon Kindle Unlimited if I really have to. So yeah, there's flexibility there, but I haven't had too many complaints, and like I say, I'll just direct them towards the paperback really.
Right.
So yeah, but
okay. Well, you definitely can, and I'm not saying that people don't. I do think that there is some synergy, though, when you are all in, and I see this all the time with especially my pen name readers, because they're voracious, and they're in Kindle Unlimited, and they will discover me one day, and by the next week, they've read through my entire backlist. And so when you put those stoppers in, you know, for every person that's emailing and saying, oh, I can't get it because of this or that or the other thing, there are 10 who are not even bothering to email you, and they're just going away, and they're just not reading those books. So it's when you make it easier for the reader to get them all in their ecosystem, I think you do get a lot of crossover. Now, that works well for my pen name. It doesn't work so much well for my Susan K. Quinn, because they're not all in the same genre. Or, I mean, they're similar genres, but they're very different kinds of stories, so they don't always appeal across. So the cross readership is lower. So I probably could like segment that one out a little bit more and put one series wide and one series in KU. I don't do that because I like to be focused and synergistic and make it easy for the readers.
Sure.
But you could, if you were determined to be wide and you believed in the benefits of that, you know, you can do anything. The great thing about Indie is you could do anything you want, you know, just go try it and see if it works.
Yeah, and I think it's one of the worst things that you can do is be afraid not to try anything. I think one of especially, I mean, I started out in Kindle Unlimited. Sorry, I started out in Kindle Select. There wasn't a Kindle Unlimited when I started. And I remember sort of thinking, oh, I kind of like the idea of selling on iBooks, and I really want to be in Barnes & Noble, but I quite like Amazon. They're being really good to me at the moment, and they're giving me some money. So, you know, maybe I should stay with them because, you know, everything's easy. It's all in one place. What actually kicked me to go wide was Kindle Unlimited, the first incarnation of it.
Right.
Because it came in and it was something, the payout was ridiculous for long novels. Do you remember?
Oh, right. It was biased against the long novels in the first version of it. Yeah, that's
right. And so I thought, okay, yeah, that's fine. I'm going to go wide. And that's initially what sort of kicked me into gear and thought, no, I'm not going to be afraid anymore. I'm going to go out and I'm going to try it. And I think that's really important. Susan, you've been wide as well. So you've experimented, you've been out, you've done it, you've tried it. And I think that for any author really is important. Don't be afraid to try new things.
Absolutely. And anytime you're using fear as a reason to do or not do whatever, just stop right there, because that's the wrong reason. The right reason is, I think there's some advantages. I want to try it. You know, I want to see for myself because everybody says X, but that might not be true for me. Absolutely experiment around. I'm a huge, huge advocate of that. I'm not a huge advocate of people who are like, well, I don't like Amazon. I'm afraid that in the future they will change things and they will crimp down on authors. So therefore, I'm going to change now because I'm afraid of something that might happen in the future. Don't do that. Don't use that as your basis. And if you do, then at least try to be objective about the actual results when they come in and see, is this working? If it's working for me, then great, go for it, because you also don't want to spend all of your time in the world thinking about marketing. You know, you'd like to actually write books. So, you know, come up with your strategies, try them out, but don't agonize endlessly about it either. You know, the worst thing, if something is agonizing to you, this is one of my guiding principles in life, meaning marketing for books, is if it's an agonizing decision and you just can't decide, then it does not matter which way you go, because it's so evenly matched. Just pick one. Flip a coin, pick one, do it, see what happens. If it's not got the result you like, go back and try the other way. And there's nothing that is forever in this business. I mean, I love how people are like, and I used to actually be more of this, well, you've got to think about the long term. Things change so fast in this business. You have no idea what the long term is. Nobody does. And I know I want to write long term. There's no question about that. But in terms of what my business is going to be like 5 years from now, I can't know. So I need to work with what works right now and then adapt. So my strategy is next year, something may be different. I may need to do something different. I'm constantly adapting and evolving, but I'm not going to put away and not do things that work now just because I'm afraid they might go away in the future. So,
no.
All right, we did question number 1.
Yeah, I think that was question number 1, wasn't it? We did get through it. So question number 2, have you noticed one, Wide or Kindle Select, to be better than the other in terms of net income? We've both been Wide, and I'm Wide currently with half and some in Kindle Unlimited at the moment, and you've been Wide before. So what would you say difference in terms of income has been?
I think it's easier to make more income in KU for a new author, but also for established authors, depending on how you transition over. I actually have a friend who was making 50%. Well, let me back up. My rule of thumb has been that if you make 25% or less of your money comes from wide retailers, so only 25% is on other retailers, then you probably will do better in KU. Now, I have a friend who was making 50% of her income, and I'm like, hey, you know, that you might make that money back in KU, but you might not. And you've already, if you're making 50%, you've got an established business on those other retailers already. Doesn't make any sense for you to move over. However, if those numbers only work if you're actually selling books, okay? If your sales are $100 a month and you're making 50 of that on other retailers, then that doesn't count, okay? That if you're only making $100 a month, you need to either write more books or write books that are more targeted to them. You need to change something else, not KU. KU's not going to fix that for you.
No,
or Wide. Either way, is not going to change that dramatically. Okay, so assuming you're actually making, say, $1,000 a month or more, then if you're making 25% on the other retailers, probably KU will do better. Now, my friend who was making 50, well, over the last year, that dropped. And it was mostly because the other retailers had some issues, like Barnes & Noble kind of screwed up their site for a while. And I think it's still kind of wacky. But, and Amazon got more competitive, okay, because KU. KU makes people more competitive on Amazon. So she is now in the process of transitioning. So her sales went from 50% other retailers down to like 25, right around that cutoff, right? So she switched over. She's been switched over for 3 weeks. She has already replaced all of her income, her 25%. I think she's up to 30% of KU. And typical for authors is when they're in KU, they'll get about half their money from KU and half from sales. Half borrows, half sales. So 50-50 is usually about the split. And it depends a little on genre, but that's typical.
Sure.
Now, so she's made that transition very successfully pretty quickly, and she hasn't even really started advertising yet. I think once she starts advertising, she'll get up to that 50-50 split. So I think it's relatively easy to go that direction. But if you're going the other direction, it's much harder. Like if I'm making 50-50 in KU, don't think that you're going to be able to go wide and replicate that 50% of your business on the other retailers within a couple of weeks. I mean, I think you would say too that it takes time.
It takes time
to grow that readership. So if you're going to do that, you got to make the commitment to do it for like 6 months or so before you're going to start getting that traction.
And it's pretty scary actually as well. As soon as you come out of Kindle Unlimited, you lose, not only do you lose your borrows, obviously, but also you lose your ranking, because ghost borrows make a huge difference.
They really, really do.
Yeah. And so I think when you do come out, you can sort of sit and think, oh my God, have I done the right thing? When going wide, please don't switch. I think that's the important thing, is if you're sort of going out and then thinking, no, I can't do this, I need to go back in. And then no, what you need to do is make a decision, go wide, really grit your teeth and watch the ranking go down, because that will happen.
It will happen.
But focus on pushing your marketing efforts for your other vendors, so your other iBooks and Barnes and Noble as well. And it takes time, minimum 6 months. I mean, I'm still growing over there now. It's been months and months.
Which is one reason why I actually recommend that new authors go in KU first.
I agree with you completely.
Yeah. Because that gets you your start. And then if you want to transition to wide, I almost would recommend going wide with a new series. Like start, stay with your baseline that you have that's making you some income, and then start a new series, but start it wide.
Yeah.
And start that 6-month process of growing your business over there. See if it's viable, see if it's working for you. And then you can decide if you want to transition the rest over. But all of this depends on you having books. So,
if you've got one book, you're going to really struggle with any of this.
Right. So I kind of feel like sometimes I hesitate to even put all this out there because it really applies to people who have a catalog, you know, and can play around then with doing some here, some there, experiment. If you're starting out with your first book or even your first series, I just say go in KU, figure out the system, and then hopefully you're writing more books after that, right? You're in this for the long haul, of writing books. And then you can decide, do I want to take it wide? Do I want to do half and half? Where do I want to experiment with there?
Yeah, and that cushions the blow as well. If you've got more books to play around with, if you've got a series that's selling well in Kindle Unlimited, you can experiment and you can put a series wide, and you can sort of take that initial drop in rankings and sort of cushion it, and then build up on, like I say, on the other vendors. So yeah, definitely with more books, it gives you some cushions and sort of a way to weather the storms. I mean, there's a great big hoo-ha going on with Amazon at the moment, of course, with missing reads for September.
Right.
Which, I mean, is it happening? Is it not happening? Nobody's really entirely sure because Amazon are so opaque about everything. And I think from my position, having that series in Kindle Unlimited at the moment, which I do have, and it's selling particularly well, but it does make me quite angry when Amazon is sort of, no, there is nothing wrong at all. It's absolutely fine. We don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
Okay. So yeah, that annoys me a little bit, but also because I have a series wide, it cushions me from that financial impact. So if Amazon change something overnight, which we know that they do, they have, Kindle Unlimited 3 could be here tomorrow. It might already be here already, and they just haven't told us. We don't know. That's the thing. We don't know. So having some of my books wide cushions me from that, which I'm grateful for. I think if I was all in Kindle Unlimited, I'd be tearing my hair out with Amazon right now.
I'm all in with Kindle Unlimited, and I don't care because I expect there to be glitches in the system. I'm not the person that's going to be, it's an inherently risky business that we're in to begin with, first of all, full stop, because you're spending this enormous amount of time and money writing and producing intellectual property that may not sell, period. So you're already in for a whole bunch of risk. You can try to mitigate some of that risk, but again, my philosophy tends to be going all in, putting my best foot forward with whatever it is and committing to it. And it's paid off for me. So, it's sort of reinforcing that way. But I don't worry about when Amazon glitches out. It is a huge corporation. Of course, they're going to have glitches every once in a while. They don't really like to admit to it. I haven't met a corporation that does. So it's not like if iBooks was glitching out that they'd be like, oh, yes, we had a glitch, and they're going to be like off to save your soul. That's not how it works. So having things happen, the way I buffet against that kind of risk is I make hay while the sun shines. I make the money where the money is good to make right now, and squirrel that away, so I've got the savings, I got the income. If you're relying on your book money, it's sort of like, I have a friend who was raised on a farm, and her, that's a great business for, training you how to be risk tolerant because you never know what the harvest is going to be. You have to put huge money into seed and equipment every year. You're like on the edge of bankruptcy every year unless the harvest comes in, and then it's like, woo, it's like make hay while the sun shines literally comes from farming. Okay. So that mentality says that, and she's great about this, where she makes her money, but she doesn't rely on it. She puts it in the bank, you know, and she has it to hold through when all of a sudden Amazon glitches out and you don't get the paycheck for that month or whatever, or now Kindle Unlimited has changed and now you've got to retool all your efforts and it's 6 months of re-gearing into doing something new. You need to be able to weather that storm. And we're in an inherently risky business. Even if you're wide or in KU, please, please, please don't, you know, if you've got no kids and you've got no dependents, okay, go wild and live that risky lifestyle. But, you know, if you've got people who are depending on you, be conservative with your money. Don't necessarily be conservative with your business, because I think taking the risks is where you get the payoff with your business.
Yeah.
But be conservative on the money side so you can make sure the lights stay on and the cat has cat food and all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we can't argue with the fact that Amazon is Amazon, and it will change things overnight. And there, like you say, there will be glitches, and it is Amazon. So it's a case of, well, there's not a great deal we can do about it. As soon as you sign up to be exclusive, that's basically what you're signing up for. So like you say, cushion it, make sure that if you are making some money, make sure you put some aside and be aware that tomorrow it could all go and disappear. Definitely.
Right. It can disappear, but, you know, it's funny, when KU changed, I changed with it very quickly. And I think this is one of the things that we kind of don't always remember as indie authors. Like, I can literally write a new book this month and put it up if I want to, as fast as I can write it. Whatever your speed is that you can write a book, you can change your strategy tomorrow.
Yeah.
And you're not a corporation. You are not, you know, Penguin, where you've got layers of corporate bureaucracy you've got to fight through to decide if you've got a new marketing strategy, for God's sake. You can
traditional publisher, yeah, definitely. You don't have to have meetings around a table every couple of weeks to decide whether you're going to be doing this or that. Yeah, I agree, yeah.
And there's a lot of people I find that they get a little bit of success and they just cling to that so hard because they're afraid to lose it. And I just got to say to you with my whole heart, don't do that, because you can restart. The worst thing that will happen to you is not that you'll have to start over. Sometimes that is the best thing that can happen to you. And the whole thing where I started up this pen name, I did that almost entirely without any of my prior success. I mean, I took my knowledge with me, but I didn't take any of my fans. I didn't take any of my resources. I was starting completely fresh. And it was one of the best things I ever did, because it's a blank slate. And now I can, like, not have to carry all the baggage of everything that I'd been doing before. I could start fresh. I can do completely new direction. I can do completely new ways of doing things. And it was incredibly liberating. So the worst thing that will happen to you is not necessarily that everything will tank overnight and you'll have to start over. That actually could be a really good thing. And so I think when you take a little bit of that fear out of it, then people are, you know, like, I'll try going wide and we'll see. If everything tanks, okay, then we come back. You know, we give it our 6 months. Like you're saying, you got to give it the commitment. Whatever you're going to do, make the commitment to at least give it a chance to work, right? And then if it doesn't work for you, you can always change. And by then, 6 months later, things will have changed anyway on the ground. You'll have new markets. You'll have new readers. Who knows what will be, you know, could have some completely new, you know, iBooks might decide they actually want to sell books and put in some kind of huge marketing tool for you that would be like, oh my God, there it is, you know, who knows? So don't be afraid. That's all I say.
Yeah, it's going back to what we were saying earlier is don't be afraid, try it. And you just don't know until you try. You could sit in Kindle Unlimited, you know, you're selling well, this is great. Looking at wide, is it something I want to do? I'm not sure, I don't know. You know, try it. Try it for 6 months. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And yes, in the meantime, you'll lose a certain amount of visibility back on Amazon, but you can cut and you can promo and you can get that back.
You absolutely can.
Yeah, it's not a well, I'm throwing everything away if I go wide. It's a case of, you know, you can get it back, especially if you've got your Kindle Unlimited 3 days and your 99 cents.
Your strategy.
Visibility, yeah.
You know, nothing is permanent in this business, for better or for worse. You know, you may think you may think that if you just keep doing this one thing that it'll always work. Well, I got news for you. That ain't good. That's not true. You can do it as long as it does work, but eventually it's not going to work anymore. And I don't care what it is, whether it's perma-free or perma 99 cents or KU, whatever it is, it's not going to work forever.
No.
You're going to have to adapt. So the sooner you embrace that, the freer you will be and the less stress you will have. You know, you don't have to be tearing your hair out once you know that it's just going to change. You're going to have to adapt, and that's okay. It's a good thing.
Yeah, I think it is a good thing. And I think that's what a great thing about being indie, the fact that you can switch on a dime overnight. Something changes, right? Okay, well, let's look again at marketing. Let's look at again at algorithms. And then, of course, you've got places like K-boards where it all blows up into a great big drama.
Stay away from the drama.
Yeah. But the information is out there, and the great thing about indies is that we all talk together as well. So yeah.
So I'm gonna plug my group again for Love or Money, because
I love your group. No.
I think it's fantastic because there are so many people willing to just pitch right in there and help you out night or day. I mean, I'm just so impressed with the people and the respect. Like Kindle boards, I stay away from because that place can get kind of crazy, and there's a lot of drama, as you say, and I tend to be the sheriff in my group. I keep the drama out because drama is just takes too much energy away from what we're trying to do, what everybody's trying to do, and nobody needs that. So I keep it drama-free as much as I can, and everybody seems really respectful of that. And then it's just the good stuff, you know, the support and the information and all that we really need. Yeah. So. All right, are we going to get through these questions?
I don't know. We're getting there. Okay, some say going too wide via Smashwords or places like that gives rise to increased book pirating due to systems easier to extract or share ebook files experience. So basically, book pirating and going wide.
I get pirated all the time, and I'm in KU, so I don't know.
Yeah, I was going to say, to be honest, pirating is a fact of life. I get Google emails every morning saying, oh, hey, look, BitTorrent have put up more of your books today. Great, thanks very much. Yeah, so pirating happens whatever you do. And I think initially when I started out, I was very precious with things like ARC copies, free copies for review, things like that. I didn't want to be doing that because I thought, well, if I give them away free, they're going to end up on pirate sites. Well, do you know what? They're going to end up on pirate sites eventually anyway. So don't worry about it. It's not worth worrying.
Exactly. I 100% agree. 100%. Okay. All right. That was easy.
That was an easy one. We did that one really quickly. Okay, right. What are the benefits of putting some titles in KU and going wide with others? So we've discussed a lot of this already, but genre differences. So genre differences in terms of success, I think, in Kindle Unlimited and going wide. Well, your pen name is romance, isn't it? Is that right?
Correct. And that was one of the first, and still is, very big in KU. Romance readers are very voracious. And so the more voracious a reader is, the more they're likely to sign up for KU. Yeah. That being said, I've seen science fiction boom in KU in the last year. Once they started taking on the longer books and rewarding with page reads instead of borrows, that really expanded the market. And I think Amazon is very committed to KU. So I think thrillers are starting to really get some traction in KU. Surprisingly, children's books do well in KU, which I did not. Children's books don't sell as indie hardly at all, but there's a ton of them that are in KU, and I was very surprised about that, but it makes kind of sense to me now because children are voracious readers. You know, they'll go through book after book after book after book, right? So kind of makes some sense. So I think there are some genre differences, but it's not as, I think the differences are going away as KU expands. So it pretty much across the board, KU is going to behave similarly in different genres. That being said, there are some really big romance writers who are determined to be wide and continue to do that. But the best way to decide, is to just go to the top 100 in your genre and see how many are in KU. That'll tell you if there are KU readers in your genre. Because if they weren't in your genre, then KU would not be dominating. So for example, my young adult science fiction, young adult dystopian, is largely traditional published books in the top 100. It's one of the few genres that has that. And so, even so, I'm still getting like 50-50, but it's actually more like 60-40. It's a little bit less. Not quite so many Kindle Unlimited readers there. It's still worth it for me, but you can definitely tell by looking at your genre. So you don't really need to trust somebody else's opinion about that. Hitting lists.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Did you want to...
No, I was just going to go to that. No, hitting lists and box sets. So, yeah, well, obviously you can't hit USA Today if you're exclusive with Select. It's not something that you can do. So it's one of those things. I think probably a new author with one book out is probably not even going to be thinking about hitting USA Today. But if you have several books out and you've got a bit of flexibility in terms of marketing and what books that you can market, there's a couple of things you can do. And of course, you have to go wide if you are wanting to go, if you're wanting to hit USA Today or even New York Times. So that's something I think probably for an author who's a little bit more established. I know certainly it's a target. Whether it actually earns you return on investment is probably another discussion. But yeah, I think if you're wanting to do that, if as a next level or another tick off your box, then yeah, you're gonna have to go wide.
With at least one of your books, right? I mean, usually people hit on one book or maybe a new release that's highly anticipated or something like that. I've seen people do like long pre-orders with trying to hit a list. And maybe they'll do that with a highly anticipated book and then pull it into KU later or something like that. You know, so there's all kinds of strategies you can use with that. That's generally going to be for somebody who, like you say, is established and knows what they're doing and probably doesn't need my advice. I figure they can figure that out. Box sets are a little different. Box sets are great money makers if you're in KU. People in KU just borrow the heck out of box sets and you get a ton of money from page reads. So I've recently been in a couple of box sets that have just, and I had another one for Pen Name that just launched a couple days ago, and they just do fantastic in terms of money.
Is this box sets with just you or box sets with collaborations with other authors? Is this your
collaboration? Collaborations, definitely. You know, and they're usually starter books. You want to put something in there that's a starter for your series. Like this one that I just did was Pen Name's first in series book, and it's just soaring. Actually, the box set that did really well under SKQ was called Galactic. So it was hitting that space opera genre that's super hot right now. I put a novella in there. It wasn't even a novel. It wasn't even a short story, or it wasn't even a first in series or anything. And it just did tremendously well because of the box set phenomenon. Now, I'm not sure that I actually gained a lot of readers. I think a lot of times people think they're going to get readers out of box sets. And I think, I think a lot of people buy box sets and don't necessarily read all the books. So you might get the money, but you might not get the follow-on sales that you expect. So it depends.
It does depend. And I'm in a couple of box sets at the moment that are wide, and they're free. So again, we're going back to the perma-free strategy of let's get it out there and get as many eyeballs on it.
Right, you're not doing it for money. You're doing it for visibility.
For visibility,
yeah, and that is, I can see that as being a very a different strategy to try to get people to come in and do read-throughs. So are you seeing a lot of read-through on those freebie box sets?
It depends where you are in the box set. If you're at the beginning, then yes. If you're at the end, well, it depends what day it is, it's if you want to be at the beginning of a box set, ideally. But yes, I do see read-throughs of perma-free box sets, and I think they work really, really well. And especially if you can combine it with Bookbub beta ads, because obviously Bookbub don't take or box sets with more than one author in. They'll take anthologies, but they won't take box sets with multi-authors in them. But you can do Bookbub beta ads. I know there's some people out there that aren't invited yet, but it is rolling out. More and more people are getting invited on a daily basis. So I think it is something that will expand very, very quickly.
My pen name is in the beta, and I'm finding it very, very interesting to use those ads because you can so highly target them. there's some really cool stuff that you can do with it by targeting individual authors that are like the ones that you want to be in your also bots, you know,
Yes.
or the ones that already are interested in your particular kind of book because they write a book like that, you know. So it's just, there's some really cool stuff that you can do with it. And I would think that works for wide or KU. It's one of those things because you can target it. You can target it just to Amazon, or you can target it to iBooks or whatever you want to.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of cool stuff in there. I think the more people get into it, though, the cost is going to go up, and it's already not cheap.
Oh yeah, definitely. I agree. I've been in there a couple of months now, and I think it's doubled in price since I've been there. So yes, but I am hoping long term that it'll settle down, because everyone's going a little bit crazy for it at the moment. But I'm thinking long term, I'm hoping it'll sort of, hopefully, fingers crossed, come back down. But we'll see what happens.
I hope so too. Yeah, we'll see. It's kind of like Facebook, only better, because like Facebook ads, a lot of people, it was really working early on, and then a lot of people got into it, and it got too expensive and didn't really work so well. But Bookbub is different. Bookbub is, these are people who are already buying books. This is not random ads on Facebook. So it really is, I think it's an interesting strategy that Bookbub is taking, and I think it is definitely tied to the fact that they're not taking as many indies for regular feature listings anymore.
Definitely.
So, you know, got to change. Everything changes.
This is it. Yeah, changes everything. Yeah. Okay, so question number 5. Do the benefits of wide Kindle Select change depending on how many books you have out? Well, we've kind of, again, touched on this quite a lot, but I think we both agree that new authors, the best thing, from my opinion, I think, is for a new author to be in Kindle Unlimited and Kindle Select, to get that initial visibility. And if you know a book is going to sell, and it's selling well in Kindle Unlimited, I think you mentioned, and we've both possibly mentioned as well, is it's likely to sell well wide as well. But, you know, it's a case of new
it really
author.
Depends.
Yeah, it does depend. Yeah. But I think new author visibility, Kindle Unlimited is very, very helpful for new books and new authors. It's easy. I know I'm supposed to be talking about wide, but but it is easy. It's a great place to start. And I think once you found your feet and you think, well, actually, this indie publishing, I can do this. That is the great time then to look at going wide.
Right.
You found your feet already, really.
Yeah, I think we're in complete agreement about that. You know, start out with it's hard enough as it is. Start out with the thing that's going to give you a leg up as a new author, get you some visibility, get you an established presence on Amazon, which still is the biggest vendor of books by far. So get started there, and then you can, maybe with your second series, start to go wide and see how that does for you. And then you're experienced, and you don't necessarily need our advice. The people that I see really trying to weigh this decision of Kindle Unlimited versus wide are people who already have books out, but they're not seeing the success that they want.
Yeah.
All right. So then I go back to my question of, are you a low-selling author at this point? Your books just have not found their audience yet. Okay, so then look at the fundamentals. Are you publishing one book every 2 years? Do you need to increase your rate of production? Do you need to do more, targeted books? Do you need to write books that are more appealing to authors in whatever way? Target the market better? Whatever. I would look at things that have nothing to do with KU versus non-KU. And then I would go back and say, you know what? Even though you have these established books, you're really starting over. You're really starting fresh as a new author again, because you can do that as an indie author. You can even change your pen name. You can erase that whole history and start over completely fresh in a new genre, starting KU, and then get your footing. Once you have your footing, then you can kind of go back to this backlist and figure out what. One of my favorite stories about that is a friend of mine, Nick Webb, who you may know if you're in science fiction. He's a huge selling author. Well, he is a great guy and super smart, but he had a bunch of books, at least a trilogy or 2 trilogies maybe, that didn't quite find their footing, right? And then he retooled, wrote a new series to the market, changed his pen name just a little bit so that it had a fresh start, and man, that thing took off because he was finally hitting the chord with the readers, and he had all his prior knowledge. And now he's like branding all of his previous books and bringing it under the umbrella of the well-selling series, and now those books are selling well. So it's like, and I don't know, he did that in KU, but he was talking at one point about going wide at some point with it, and I mean, he's doing so well in KU. I don't know if he's decided to actually do that yet or not. But now he has the flexibility to do that because he's got a bunch of money to work with, basically. And he has the flexibility, freedom to decide where to go now. So don't necessarily look at KU as your salvation, but it can be a key part of rebooting. However you want to, if you want to reboot a new series. This is something I've also done. Okay, I'm like going way off, but I had an old series that was not selling well at all, and it was targeted to steampunk. And I decided to completely reboot the series. The books are the same, but new covers, new marketing, new categories, new descriptions, everything. I mean, those things were, and I, had tried for 2 years to get a Bookbub on them. Couldn't. As soon as I changed the cover and the description, got a Bookbub right away, and relaunched that series in KU. And it had been in KU before. Okay, so it wasn't KU that made the difference. It was the rebooting that made the difference, but it leveraged the advantage of KU as this new series that was 2 years old. Okay, but it was new to KU all of a sudden, and then it took off. Yeah. So you can always reboot.
Yeah, that's definitely.
My takeaway.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, again, going over sort of what we've already said, it's a case of opportunities, trying to get yourself out there and to try new things, and to not be afraid, really, is what it comes down to. And I think you and I, we pretty much both agree. I mean, we're supposed to be here fighting over, is it KU, is it wide? But there is no easy answer to this. There's never going to be. And it all depends on the person, how many books they've got out, what books, what they're writing, what genre they're writing. Are they good at marketing? Is marketing something they don't want to touch with a barge pole? There's so many different factors involved in it. And I think every author has to sit down and really sort of evaluate where they're going and how they're going to do it and what they want to do with their books. And then look at Kindle Unlimited and wide, definitely.
Right. It really doesn't matter what anybody else is doing. All that matters is what works for you. So, and what works for your life. You may not want the stress of whichever way is more stressful for you. I can't even say. And don't be afraid to embrace what works for you and go for that thing that brings you the most joy in your life and your writing and your business. And because that's where you're going to succeed. Follow that joy rather than follow the stress and worry that you're not doing it right, whatever that right thing is. So, okay. Awesome. Well, I love talking with you, Pippa.
Yeah, it's been fabulous. I wish we could have hours.
Yes, but I think our time is probably up.
We're up, yeah.
Do you remember the magic phrase we're supposed to say?
Yeah, it was the Indie Author Fringe with the Alliance of Independent Authors.
Excellent.